A city built on make-believe, glamour by design, fantasy by contract. But beneath the spotlight lies a shadow. And when that shadow spills onto the silver screen, the world watches, shocked and spellbound. From studio-manufactured marriages to morality clauses and whispered threats in the press room, old Hollywood didn't just create stars, it controlled them. But sometimes the stories were too salacious, too violent, too tragic to be hidden. In this documentary, we dive into 6 scandals that didn't just make headlines, they made history. A beloved silent comedian accused of the unthinkable. A screen goddess and a gangster stabbed in the heart, literally. An affair so brazen it made the US Senate rage. A death that may have been murder covered in satin and studio lies. A rape trial that revealed just how far charm could go in a courtroom. And a love child hidden under layers of Catholic guilt and cinematic illusion. These were the moments when the fantasy cracked, when the public saw not the polished portraits on the silver screen, but the broken humans behind them. And somehow, we couldn't look away. This isn't the Hollywood you learned about in fan magazines. This is the one written in scandal sheets, police records, and ruin. Let's begin. The Fatty Arbuckle Trial, 1921. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was one of silent cinema's biggest stars, literally and figuratively. A comedic genius beloved by millions, Arbuckle signed a $3 million contract with Paramount in 1921. But by the end of that year, his name would be synonymous with scandal. Labor Day weekend, Hotel St. Francis, San Francisco. Arbuckle hosts a party. A young actress named Virginia Rappe falls ill and dies days later from a ruptured bladder. Witnesses, some shady at best, accuse Arbuckle of sexual assault, even rape and manslaughter. The press had a field day. William Randolph Hearst's papers screened headlines like, "Fatty Arbuckle guilty of killing girl." Despite 3 trials and 0 evidence of rape, doctors found no signs of assault. The public had already convicted him. Though acquitted in 1922, the damage was done. Arbuckle's films were banned. His name became toxic. The jury's apology, "There was not the slightest proof," couldn't undo the smear. Studios panicked. The Hays Code soon followed, an attempt to impose morality on the screen. Why it still matters. It was the first major celebrity scandal, showing how quickly fame could be flipped by frenzy. It raised the terrifying question: what happens when the court of public opinion is stronger than the law? Arbuckle died in 1933, just as he was planning a comeback. Hollywood had forgiven him, but too late. The Lana Turner, Johnny Stompanato killing. Lana Turner was the archetype of the Hollywood siren. Curves, charisma, and a career that spanned decades. But her real-life roles were often darker. And no role darker than what unfolded in April 1958. Her boyfriend was Johnny Stompanato, a bodyguard, a gangster, a violent man. Known for his connection to Mickey Cohen, Stompanato had a reputation for jealousy and abuse. On the night of April 4th, he showed up to Turner's Beverly Hills home during an argument. In the chaos, 14-year-old Cheryl Crane, Lana's daughter, grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed him to death. The press exploded. "Hollywood starlet kills mobster to protect mom," screamed Los Angeles Examiner. Turner wept on the stand in a white dress. Cheryl said she acted out of fear for her mother's life. The coroner ruled it justifiable homicide. Cheryl was never charged, but public opinion was split. Some believed it was staged. Others saw Turner as the ultimate femme fatale, so lethal her lovers didn't survive. The fallout? Cheryl was institutionalized for a time. Lana's reputation took a hit, but her performance in Imitation of Life that same year became one of her biggest hits. Redemption? Maybe. Reinvention? Absolutely. Why It Still Matters. It was the perfect storm of glamour, violence, and motherhood. A woman trapped by the men in her life, and a daughter forced to become her protector. It blurred the lines between victim and villain, on and off the screen. Clark Gable and Loretta Young's secret baby. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood. Loretta Young, the devout Catholic ingenue. On screen, they sizzled with chemistry. Off screen, they shared a secret, one they kept for nearly a lifetime. In 1935, while filming Call of the Wild, the two had an affair. Young became pregnant. In those days, a pregnancy out of wedlock could end a career, especially for a woman. The solution? Disappear. Young took a vacation and gave birth in secret. Her baby, Judy Lewis, was placed in an orphanage. Months later, Loretta adopted her own daughter. The child grew up with Gable's cleft chin, but never knew the truth until adulthood. It wasn't until Judy was in her 30s that she discovered Gable was her father. Young denied it for years. Finally, in her memoirs, published posthumously, she admitted it and hinted that the encounter may not have been fully consensual. It wasn't against my will, but it also wasn't something I wanted, she wrote in her private memoirs. A chilling ambiguity that continues to haunt the story. Why It Still Matters. It reveals how far studios and stars would go to preserve image. It also forces us to revisit stories once romanticized and see them through a modern lens. It wasn't just a love child. It was a cover-up forged in silence, shame, and sacrifice. Ingrid Bergman's Affair and Exile. Ingrid Bergman was beloved, the wholesome foreign beauty who lit up Casablanca and inspired millions. But in 1949, she shocked the world, not on screen, but in her personal life. While still married, Bergman began an affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. The two collaborated on Stromboli and fell madly, unapologetically in love. She became pregnant with his child before finalizing her divorce. The US was outraged. Bergman is a powerful influence for evil, declared Senator Edwin C. Johnson on the Senate floor. She was denounced as immoral. Churches boycotted her films. The press called her a homewrecker. She was exiled, not officially, but effectively. No major studio would touch her. But Bergman didn't flinch. She moved to Italy, married Rossellini, and had 3 children with him. It took nearly a decade for Hollywood to forgive her. In 1956, she returned triumphantly, winning an Academy Award for Anastasia. Why It Still Matters. Bergman's scandal revealed how women's morality was policed far more than men's. Her career suffered not because she broke the law, but because she broke the illusion of virtue. And yet, her comeback proved something else. Audiences could forgive, eventually. So why were these scandals so explosive? Because they shattered the image that Hollywood had so carefully constructed. The studio system demanded perfection, not just on camera, but in life. Stars were shaped, packaged, and sold like products. Deviations weren't just personal, they were professional liabilities. When a star stumbled, the entire illusion trembled. Studios acted like shadow governments, silencing victims, arranging fake marriages, even tampering with crime scenes. Image was everything. Justice was negotiable. But beneath it all, these stories reveal something deeper, the brutal inequality at play. Women were punished far more harshly than men. Bergman was exiled for an affair. Gable, who fathered a child out of wedlock, remained a king. Loretta Young bore the shame of a child conceived in possible coercion, while Gable faced no fallout. And when it came to race, power, or class, the playing field wasn't just uneven, it was invisible. These scandals also prefigured what we see today. The same hunger for gossip, the same cycle of public shame and redemption. The only difference: today, the stars break the news themselves, on Instagram, not the Hollywood Reporter. But even in the age of TikTok, these old tales still haunt us, because they weren't just scandals. They were ruptures in a dream. And once we saw the truth, we never forgot it. Hollywood was built on illusion, but it's sustained by reality, no matter how messy, tragic, or scandalous. These were more than cautionary tales. They were human stories of fame, power, desire, and downfall. And they remind us of a painful truth. Behind every red carpet, there's a darker script. Lights, camera, scandal.